Hi guys, hope you're well. Today we are taking a look at the advantages that PC players get over console gamers on Call of Duty Warzone. This has to be one of my most requested videos in the comments and on social media. Obviously with Warzone being a cross-platform game, PC playing with Xbox and PlayStation, there are several big advantages that PC players can have. And a lot of people talk about this, but I just wanted to show and really break down what these are and what they look like, because I do think it brings up some interesting questions and problems with game design and balance when you're doing cross-platform on a game like this. So we're just going to get straight into it. The first thing is NVIDIA filters. If you have an NVIDIA card, you can use an overlay called NVIDIA filters. You press Alt and F3 by default and it brings up this overlay where you can add effects to the game. I think its initial design was more of an artistic thing because you've got some funny things on there. You can change the tone, the way things look, and go black and white, make it look painterly, film grain, sharpening, all that stuff. Really cool set of tools, and it allows you to take some insane screenshots as well. But what you can also do with this is change the way that your games look on PC to give yourself better visibility. And some Warzone players can use this to increase the visibility of characters in the game and just the overall cleanliness of the image, I suppose. Now, of course, the worst offender in Warzone is the rose skin. There are so many dark areas on the map, and the rose skin in particular blends in really well. It's been a big complaint recently within the community. Lots of people just saying, get rid of it. I don't think that will ever happen because, as far as I remember, it was at the end of the battle pass and some people may have paid real money to get to that. So I don't know the legalities behind just removing it from the game. But the developers could change the model. They could improve the contrast on it, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So I just went into a game here with my mate. I'm recording this. He's on my account using the rose skin. Please ignore the big jack frags at the top. The point of this is that you look at the character model and how dark it is. So by default, that's the way the game looks. I haven't changed anything here. This is just default highest graphics settings. And the rose skin is very dark, almost impossible to see. We've all been in situations where we've just run past one of these or a dark skin in the corner, not seeing it and being shot in the back without a chance to react. It happens. But then you turn NVIDIA filters on and look, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Again, ignore the user interface where it says jack frags. Focus on the model here. Huge improvement in visibility. You can see it and then you can't. You can see it and then you can't. Like, that's the kind of improvement you can get with things like NVIDIA filters. And as I was saying, just the overall brightness of the game. It's not just the rose skin. There are other dark skins in the game too. And I definitely believe that dark models and camouflaged models have a place in a realistic PvP shooter like this. But some of the skins in particular, like the rose skin, are definitely harder to see because there's just no contrast with the dark environments. They're especially bad in situations like this where I run into the building and there's almost like this bloom effect where as soon as you run in, it's still dark and then it lightens up a bit and you can see the skin a bit better, but you just wouldn't notice that skin there. However, you turn the filters on, different story. You can run right past, you'll see them straight away. So that's definitely one of the biggest advantages that PC players have. And you can tweak this to your heart's content. You can find the perfect one. You can find a really overexposed one that might look ridiculous, but could give you a huge advantage in the game. Next up is field of view. So I don't 100% know this, but from what I've read online, I've done a bit of research and I've looked at it myself. I think the field of view for console on Xbox and PlayStation is 80. And you can see here on Stadium, that's what I'm using, 80. It feels very close to the screen and you can't really see much in your peripheral. But on PC, you can increase that FOV. And here I put it on 105. That's what I play on by default. And boom, suddenly there's a rose skin. There's a player that you couldn't see on 80 field of view. So if I was in that situation playing on console, I just would not have seen that player at all. So that's clear visibility versus zero visibility just by changing the field of view. At some point down the line, will Raven Infinity Ward add a field of view slider to console Warzone? I hope so, just because it's a bit more comfortable. They put it on Black Ops, but Black Ops is a different engine. It doesn't look as good. The map isn't as big. So I do think there are some performance concerns there with increasing the FOV for the Warzone map. I'd love to see it though. I primarily play on PC, but I know that if I was on console, I would be screaming to get an FOV option just to increase it, just so it feels a bit more comfortable on my eyes to play when I'm close to a monitor, and also so I can just get that wider visibility. You can go all the way up to 120 as well on PC, which, yeah, it looks ridiculous, but it just gives you such a massive advantage in terms of stuff that you can see in front of you. Next up is frames per second and the frequency or the monitor hertz that you're playing at. This doesn't necessarily apply as much if you've got an Xbox Series X or S, because you can actually run Warzone at 120 FPS and 120 Hertz on those consoles if you've got a compatible TV. Doesn't quite feel the same as PC, but still pretty good. Massive improvement over 60. Can't do this on PlayStation 5 though. You're stuck at 60 Hertz and 60 frames per second. On PC, my rig can hit up to 200 FPS, averaging around 175, and the whole game just feels way smoother. I'm playing it at 1440p, so I've got a much clearer image, and I'm playing it at 240 Hertz. So it looks smooth, it feels smooth. Higher FPS, higher monitor hertz will give you less input lag, so the game's more responsive, it feels better, it's easier on the eyes. Compare that to if you're on an older Xbox or a PlayStation 4 or 5, you're stuck at 60, it's going to feel a little bit sloppy on the sticks, it might look a bit choppy at times. It's a big difference when you put it side by side. Generally speaking, if you don't have an Nvidia card or you don't want to use the filters, I personally don't use the filters, you can just put all of your graphics on low to get more frame rate and better visibility by default. Obviously, if you turn off all those graphic settings that might be distracting, turn down the texture detail, all those ambient occlusion effects, you'll just get better visibility, generally speaking anyway. You don't have to use the Nvidia filters on PC to gain an advantage there. Next up is audio headsets. Now, this is a bit of a generalization, but I do think it's true. Most PC players will be playing with a headset where they can clearly hear footsteps of players. Not that footsteps are great in Warzone, but they're there sometimes. You can hear directional audio. You can hear people running up to you, running away from you, above you, below you. And if you're playing on PC, yeah, you're probably wearing a headset. In terms of console players, most of them will be playing on a TV or a monitor with speakers. So they won't have that audio clarity that you get with a headset on PC. Now, you can use headsets on consoles, obviously, and a lot of people do. I know loads of console players that are using headsets. It's just that generally speaking, the vast majority of people who play on console are just playing on big TVs, and they won't have that audio clarity in terms of footsteps when people are behind them, running up to them, which direction gunshots are coming from, that kind of thing. So that's also something to think about, how PC has an advantage there. So what can be done about this, and why is it an interesting discussion? Well, if you're playing on console, you can turn crossplay off. From what I've tested, this only works on PlayStation though. Eventually it does find me a game. I've tried this on Xbox, but it just never puts me in a game. And I don't know if that's a player-based thing or it's just something in the Xbox agreement or code of conduct, whatever, but it just doesn't find me a game if I disable crossplay on Xbox. PlayStation works every time. So if you're on PS4, PS5, that's the way that you only play with other console players, and that's a good way to avoid blatant wall hackers and aimbotters that you get on PC. In regards to the Nvidia filters, that one's tricky because Nvidia have a relationship with game publishers like Activision, and we know that DLSS, which is a fantastic technology, is coming to Warzone. They announced it a couple months back. But when you can alter the look of the game so much on PC and make those skins stand out, it does raise a few eyebrows, and you think, well, is it really that fair? There have been other games like Hunt Showdown, for example, where sometimes the lobby would load a nighttime version of the map, and the use of Nvidia filters was rampant. You could turn nighttime maps into daytime maps with Nvidia filters. So if you weren't using this stuff, you didn't want to, or you hadn't heard about it, you'd be fighting against players who could clearly see you as if they were playing the game like it was daytime, and you're there at nighttime, pitch black, can't see a thing. Massive problem. And eventually they actually disabled it from working in that game. So could Nvidia and Activision come to some agreement with Warzone? Maybe. However, I do think that the onus here is on the developers, it's on Raven and Infinity Ward to perhaps look at the lighting in Call of Duty Warzone. Look at some of these character models that are very dark and have low contrast and can't be really seen in these dark areas, and make a pass on them and improve the player visibility overall, improve that contrast. Because with this being a cross-platform game, in terms of visibility, there should be parity across the board really in terms of how clear people are to see. This isn't just a Warzone specific problem, of course, it's happened in all sorts of games, but there are some skins in particular, like the Rose skin, that are clearly advantageous in terms of their profile and how dark they are in this game. So I do think they could look at that and perhaps improve some of those. One other thing that I've noticed as well is that whenever I play with a controller, or if I'm in a party with people who just have controllers, we tend to get way more console players in the lobby. If you play with a completely mouse and keyboard lobby, you're going to get a lobby which is full of PC players. So I do think there's some kind of bias in the game already for input, which I think is a good thing. But ultimately, something else I wanted to touch on before we wrap up. I do think that if you're good on controller, the best way to play Warzone is on PC with a controller. And the reason for that is that you get all the advantages of playing on PC that we just covered in this video, plus you get insane aim assist. The aim assist on this game is incredibly strong. I was just messing around with this with my mate Hads, and I am not pressing the right stick here. I'm not moving the camera at all. I've got a controller plugged in. That is literally just the aim assist moving my camera for me. And you can see it's moving it quite a lot as well. This isn't just a small increment. All I'm doing is moving my left stick, so just the movement of the character. I'm not changing the camera at all. I'm not looking left or right. My thumb is not on that stick. But the aim assist just magnetizes so hard towards enemy players in this game. It also still works while you're stunned. So aim assist can save your butt if someone throws a stun grenade at you. It will still work through that stun sometimes and win the gunfight for you. So if you want the, let's say, ultimate try-hard experience for Warzone, your best bet is to get really good on controller, plug it into PC, get all the advantages of that, and aim assist. You'll likely dominate most of the lobbies that you're playing in. But mouse and keyboard is definitely better at longer ranges, medium to longer ranges. It will be easy to shoot people. Flick shots are typically easier on PC too. And there are certain guns in the game that have a lot of recoil, like the FFAR or like the AMAX, where you can manage the recoil much better with a mouse. But if you've got a controller, get a gaming PC, plug it in, you'll have a good time. And with that said, that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this interesting and informative. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, how do you feel about the balance in Warzone between PC and console? Should it just be console cross-platform? Should PC just stay on their own? Or are you okay with everyone playing together? Maybe just voluntarily. Perhaps that could work. Let's say you're playing with another PC player and you're on console, you can volunteer to play with them, but not the other way around, right? Would that work? Maybe, maybe not. Let me know your thoughts below. And that's all, guys. As always, I want to say a big thank you to everyone using my Call of Duty supporter creator code in the COD store, JackFrags in all caps. If you use it, tweet me a picture and I'll put you in a video like this one. And that's all. If you enjoyed this video, guys, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.